Kadosh, Erev Tov, Mishmar, a special Mishmar, which we're going to speak about Parashat Teze, to do with Beli Kavana. What does that mean? We know the Sfat Emet says that all the parashiot that we read throughout the entire month of Elul have to do with Yamin Noraim. Everything that we read in Elul has to do with Yamin Noraim. So the Ohr HaChaim HaKadosh already in Parashat Shoftim comes and he starts, Ki Tetzeh LeMilchama. We're talking about the Milchama Gdola Mizeh, which is talking about the Yetzer Hara. And it continues going also in this week's Parashat HaShavua. We're talking about also when they're going out to war, right? V'shavita Shivyon, the Fatwa, everything is talking about the month of Elul. I'm going to start on the left column on the top. Omrim, it says over here or on the bottom, right? It says like this. Kayadua Parashat Ki Tetzeh is the parasha with the most mitzvot in the Torah. On the top now, top left. Parashat Ki Tetzeh. You heard in Devarim. Yeah? In the entire Torah, the parasha with the most mitzvot is Ki Tetzeh. You've got 27 positive commandments and 47 negative commandments. Sach HaKol, 74 mitzvot. You heard? 74 mitzvot. 74 mitzvot. So what does that mean? Yeah, he says that the Baalei HaChasidut come and they say, Mispar HaMitzvot Parasha is Romez Lemila Edut. Ed. Why? How much is Ed? 74. Just like we say in Kriyat Shema, Shema, Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. You have the Ayin of Shema. You have the Daled of Echad. 74. Also, yeah. Then he says also in Alelu L'Shabeach. It starts Alelu L'Shabeach and it finishes in Od. And also the next part, Al Ken Nekavelach, Ayin, and then Vayashem Shemo Echad, Daled, Ayin, Daled, always 74. Why? They are Edim. Do you know that when a person says Alelu L'Shabeach and Al Ken Nekavelach, those are his two witnesses that he prayed the tefillah that he just said. Never heard that? No, you just heard. One more time. Why do we say Alelu L'Shabeach at the end of every single tefillah? Because these are the two edim that you came and you prayed. So in Shachrit, two edim that you prayed. Mincha, two edim that you prayed. Arvit, the same thing. Some people, right, they don't want edim. So what do? They run out before Alelu L'Shabeach. There's no more edim. Yeah? Exactly. Fine. Be'od ki shvuayim v'chetzi. In 2.5 weeks, when we're going to be B'Yom HaGadol on Rosh Hashanah, and we are going to be Mamlich HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Beseder Malchuyot, we are going to say 10 Pesukim for each one. Yeah, are you listening? Yeah? 10 Pesukim for each one. 10 Pesukim for Malchuyot. 10 Pesukim for Zichronot. 10 Pesukim for Shofarot. That's going to be 10 Pesukim. Do you realize every single one of the 10 Pesukim is going to be 3 Pesukim Minha Torah, 3 Pesukim from Nevi'im, and 3 Pesukim from Ketuvim. The last Pasuk from the Torah. One more time. Torah, Nevi'im, Ketuvim, Torah. You finish with the Torah. 10 Pesukim. 10 Pesukim. So he comes and he says like this. He says, the Torah says in Parashat Ba'alotecha, right? He comes and he says like this. Uvyom simchatchem, uvmoadechem, uvrashem. It says, utkatem b'chasoserot, shofarot. Chatzotzorot, the shofarot. Vayu lachem lezikaron. What is zikaron? Zichronot. Ani Hashem Elokechem Malchuyot. Again, that's what you say. Uvyom simchatchem umoadechem urashech chodshechem utkatem b'chatzotzerot. Right? B'chatzotzerot is what? Shofarot. Right? Zikaron, zichronot. And then what else? You have the next one. What's the next one? Malchuyot. Says the Gemara Masechet Rosh Hashanah Lamebet Amud Aleph. It says, Minayin shomrim malchuyot. How do you know you say malchuyot? Tanya Rabbi Meir Omer, Rabbi Omer, Ani Hashem Elokechem, uvachodesh hashavi'i zu malchut. When it says Ani Hashem Elokechem, it means I am Hashem your God. So when it says I am Hashem your God, it means that the 7th month is malchut. So Rashi says Ani Hashem Elokechem, D'le'ani v'lager ta'azov. You have to abandon it for the ani v'lager. And immediately he says B'chodesh hashavi'i zichron teruah. What's going on? What's going on? Ani Hashem Elokechem, what's going on? Look inside. You have it in bold over there. Parashat Emor. The Torah brings down all the Moadot, starting with Shabbat, Pesach, Shavuot, Rosh Hashanah, Kippur, Sukkot, Shemini Atzeret. All of a sudden, in the middle of the Parashiot, after you finish the concept of Shavuot, there's a pasuk that has nothing to do with anything. Imagine, I'm talking about all the Chagim, and all of a sudden I stop. And you know what I say? When you're going to reap your properties, don't reap it completely. You have to leave over the peah. What's the peah? The corner. I have to leave over the leket. And then I speak about Rosh Hashanah. Meaning, in between Shavuot and Rosh Hashanah, I speak about leket and peah. Peah is the corner of the field, right? And the leket is that you cannot take over if it fell, right? And there's going to be 2, right? You cannot pick it up. If it's 3, then you can pick it up. 3 stalks. Yeah? That's called leket. Okay? So one more time. In the middle of the Moedah, think about it. I'm talking about Shabbat, Pesach, Shavuot, Pasek. In the middle of right after Shavuot. We speak about leket and peah, and then we continue with Rosh Hashanah, Kippur, Sukkot, Shmini Atzeret. Until we're clear. So we have to understand. Says Rabbi, when it says Ani Hashem Elokechem, the Torah is talking about Rosh Hashanah. So from here we see that you're going to say Malchuyot on Rosh Hashanah. So we see from here, according to him, that the entire concept why we say Rosh Hashanah Malchuyot is because of leket in Shicha. And the question is, what's the connection? What's the connection between leket and Shicha and Malchuyot? Imagine right now, David, I come and I tell you, you know what? You have to give tzedakah. Why? Or you have to blow the shofar because of leket Shicha. What's the connection? So listen to this. Mitzvot Shicha, right? Really, be'emet, you should know there are 3 different mitzvot in the field. Leket, Shicha, and peah. Okay, leket, Shicha, peah. Shicha is you forgot it, and then you went home, and then you remembered, and now you want to go back and get it, and you don't get it. So that's the first one. Okay, says the right. We're on page 2. It says the Torah says ki tiksor ketzirecha besadecha. Dvarim kav daled. Ki tiksor ketzirecha besadecha. Right, v'shachachta omer basadeh. You're going to forget the omer in the field. Lo tashuv lekachto lagel layatom ve'la'almana yiyeh. So by leket, right? Sorry, right? By shikha, it says bechol maaseh yadecha. Then it says when you're going to do the grapes. Now the question is, what's the connection between the mitzvah of leket shicha u'peah and zechel yetziat Mitzrayim? Because we just said over here, v'zacharta ki eved hayita beretz Mitzrayim. Al ken anochi mitzvayecha la'asot davar hazeh. That's why you have to do this. So first of all, one more time. First of all, we have to understand what's the connection between leket and peah and all the chagim. You start with Shabbat and Pesach and Shavuot, pasek. What do you have? Leket and peah. And then you have Rosh Hashanah, right? Rosh Hashanah and right after Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur. No. Yeah, you're listening. Okay. So now the question that we ask ourselves is, right? Fine. So what happens now? The connection between Zechel Yetziat Mitzrayim and Leket Shicha U'Peah. Remember that Leket Shicha, that Shicha was in this week's Parashat. Okay. So the Sforno says, "V'zacharta." No, in Ki Teze it was in last week's Parashat, right? Yeah, meaning the one we just read. right? He says, the Sforno, Zacharta keved hayita, v'hayita tzarich az le'ololo batzir. When you were in Mitzrayim, you were like a poor man. So that's what he says. Remember, right? Poverty, right? When you were in Mitzrayim. The Chida brings down Rabbeinu Bachiyai davar pele. How is it connected to Yitziat Mitzrayim?
Where is the Chida?
Says that of Chida on the right side. On the right side, page 3, on the right side. Page 3 on the right side, it says, right, the Chida, you have it in bold. The Rav Chida in the name of Rabbeinu Bachiyai. V'zacharta keved hayita b'Mitzrayim ken. Yesh ledaktek, we have to understand what is the shayachut between Yitziat Mitzrayim and Matanat Aniyim B'Shicha. So he says, Rabbeinu Bachiyai comes and he says, Ma shenishtabdu b'Mitzrayim haya ba'avur diyad ani v'evyon lo echziku ve'elimu ayin me'asot tzedakah v'ayu tzarei ayin kematarya taf lamed. Right? Kishne galutam. Akan dvarav. And therefore, b'Matanot Aniyim it says, V'zacharta keved hayita, because you didn't give tzedakah. Meaning, the fact that you didn't give tzedakah, that is the reason why you went out to Galut. That's the reason why you were in Mitzrayim. The Zacharta keved hayita, and therefore be very careful to give matanot aniyim. The first place where we come and we see the mitzvah of leket and peah is Parashat Kedoshim. Then in Parashat Emor. The question is, why does it say it another time? So Rashi says, "Uvkutzrechem chazar v'shana," to teach you that there's two lavin, there's two different averot, and if you didn't do it, two different averot. So now we're going to try to connect it to Rosh Hashanah. Nowadays, we don't have the mitzvah of Shicha, right? We don't know it. Why? When was the last time you were a farmer? Right? What's going on? Shicha. What's the Shicha? So he says, he asked, right, Rav Yosef Cohen from Chasdei Naomi, he asked if nowadays, is there a concept as aniyim, which are re'evim lalechem? Does there really exist people that are mamash hungry for bread? So he asked him. Yeah, and he said, Kayom, there's no such thing. Instead of buying 3 lechamim with 12 shekel, right? He says, it's different. It's a different musag, which means it could be that, they're hungry for steaks and for, chicken, but bread, very difficult to find something that doesn't have bread. Very difficult. Yeah, mamash, like ad kedei kach. You don't have bread, very difficult. But the chinuch comes and he says, nitztavinu, we're going to be commanded, shenishkach omer basadeh, to leave it there. And that's what we say. Shachachta, right? Shicha, shoshei mitzvah. Since aniyim and evyonim, right? Bechetam uvaniyutam tolim aleim alatvot. They always come and they're always looking towards the grains to see what's going on, right? Why? Because they want it. So therefore, they want to come and they want to benefit from it. So Chazal say, "Mayafit umanaamt, mayafit mitzvot habayit, chiluk trumot u'maasrot, umanaamt mitzvot hasadeh, leket shicha u'peah maaser ani enefker." So therefore the Midrash says, Al tigzal dal ki dalhu. Says Rabotenu, HaKatuv medober imu dal, ma gozel lo. If he's poor, what can you steal from him? Says, Ella lo diber matanot, we're talking about matanot aniyim. We're talking about matanot aniyim that you're stealing from him. That means technically speaking, right, if he's a poor guy, what can you steal from a poor guy? The guy misken has nothing. What are you going to steal from him? You're stealing from him matanot aniyim. That's what you're stealing from him. So he comes and he says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, why? Because a person, if he doesn't give matanot aniyim, he's stealing from the ani.
Okay.
Yeah? So HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes and he says, Lo yigzol adam me'em matanot reuyot liten lahem, ki dalhu, dai lo aniyuto. Right? It's already enough that he's poor. Don't also steal that from him. So that the Sefer Damesek Eliezer says, Al tigzal dal ki dalhu, ve'al tedakeh ani v'shar, ki Hashem yariv rivam, ve'koveh et kovehem nefesh. What does that mean? He comes and he says, we're talking about the pashtut is that since he's dal, he comes and he says, that's what it means, that he's going to be choleh mechamat onyo. So he says, right, madua, this is why exactly. He comes and he says, right, because we're talking about, right, a person that he's not giving his matanot aninim. Fine. Avot Rabbi Natan, bottom page 3. Dever ba'al ha'olam, there's going to come dever in the world. Yeah, are you listening? There's dever which are coming down to the world. Why? Because of avon leket shicha u'peah maaser ani. There was a story with a woman that she was sitting. I'm on page 4 on the top. Yeah, he says she was sitting in the shkuna balasadeh, and her 2 children went to do leket. The balasadeh didn't let them do leket. So imagine the balasadeh, the owner of the field, didn't let them come in. Yeah, he did a shatam. So what happened? So she comes and says, when are they going to come back? Right, because maybe they have what to eat. And they were coming and saying, "What? We're going to come back home and we're going to find our mother has something to eat." All of a sudden, they came home and nobody had nothing what to eat. They put their heads in by their mother and they started crying. And all of them died on the same day. They all died, 3 of them. Says HaKadosh Baruch Hu, En atem govim mehem el hanefashot. Chayechem af ani egveh mikem nashotechem. He says, you're going to come and you're going to steal from them, which means you're killing them. I'm going to do the same thing. That's what Hashem says. Because you're not giving the anim. Okay? Which is an incredible yesod. We're talking about yeah? Fine. Omrim Chazal, Galeta Yehuda me'oni. What does it mean, me'oni? Shegazlu matanot aniyim. You know why we went into exile, Galeta Yehuda? Because of stealing of the ani. So says the Marzav, Galeta Yehuda me'oni, he should have said la'oni. But rather me'oni al shechlu, which means that they came and actually were taking it away from them. So now we're going to come and we're going to ask as follows, right? We're going to say different explanations. Or Chaim HaKadosh comes and he says, what's the connection between leket shechal peah to the concept of notar? Notar means leftover meats, right? When you have leftovers. So he comes and he says like this. He says, why were the 2 parashiyot brought together? So Chaim HaKadosh comes and he says, tam smichat mitzvah zo le'onesh karet, is to teach you karet. Because he's giving us a hint, sha'adam mezid v'nitchayev karet. He says if a person does something that is chayev karet, en lishmor atzmo mikol asher yezdamen lefanav b'maaseh hara, ki kvar, he's already chayev karet. Lazeh amar uvkutzechem eketzir artzechem. What does that mean? Keshegaram ad shenigzar katzir artzo shu karet, amur basamuch, lo techale pe'atzdecha ligzor. Ota b'maasim ra'im acherim. You don't cause one sin after another sin. And it's telling us, shelo tikaret kol hanefesh, ela anaf shebo remuz mitzvah zo. And therefore, we're going to pay attention to this. That's the kavanah of this mitzvah. So basically, this concept of leket is hinting to us the mitzvah of teshuvah. We have to do teshuvah. Yeah? Yeah? So it says the Tosefta. And he comes and he says like this. This is brought down in the Bnei Yisachar. This is where the Yisod is starting. The Bnei Yisachar is going to say an incredible Yisod. And he says like this. Maaseh bechasid echad. There was a story with a chasid. Sheshachach omer betoch sadeu. He forgot. Shikha. Right? He forgot. He forgot there was grains in his field. So he comes and he tells his son, Teze akriv alai parla olav. Go bring me 2 different korbanot. Amarlo tells the son to the father, Abba, marita lismoach besimchat mitzvah zo. Right? Yoter mikol mitzvah. Why are you so happy? Imagine right now you came, right? And you're so happy that you came and you did a mitzvah. What's going on? The mitzvah of shikha. He forgot.
He forgot. You remember that he forgot.
Exactly. So you remember that he forgot, and he says, I'm not allowed to take it. That now he fulfills the mitzvah.
Because you remember.
No. You have to remember in order to be mekayim the mitzvah. But you have to forget lechatchila. Meaning like this. Exactly. You can't do it b'mezid, which means like this, right? You come and you have your stalks in the field. Okay. Yeah? After having the stalks in the field, you forgot that they were in the field. You forgot them now. You come into the house. Doesn't matter. For a few minutes. You come into the house, and also you go and say, 1 second. Where's the stalks? I forgot them outside. Right now, that's a mitzvah of shikha. What does that mean? That means right now, that means like this. If I'm going to be outside, I'm going to say, you know what? I'm going to forget it here. No. You can't forget it there. It's if you really forgot it. Meaning you went into the house and also, 1 second, what? I forgot. Now you have a mitzvah, leave it there. That's called shikha. What you left there? It's a mitzvah. No, we're not talking about thing. Right, we're talking about you left over the
old inventory.
Yeah. We're not talking about the whole inventory. No, we're not talking about the whole inventory. We're talking about stocks. We're talking about stocks. Yeah, we're talking about stocks. Says the Gemara. Yeah, he comes and he says the Gemara. Right? It says over there, why were you so happy? Yeah, why are you so happy? So Amarlo, he told them, Kol mitzvot shebat Torah natan lahem hamakom ledato. Remember, this is a Tosefta. All the mitzvot that Hashem gave, you need da'at. What does it mean you need da'at? You have to have kavanah. You have to have kavanah. How many times people come, they want to do l'shem yichud. Right? We tell a person, say mincha, oh, patach eliyahu, l'shem yichud, korbanot, everything is kavanot. Yeah, kavanot for this, kavanot for that. Kavanot. So he comes and he says, yeah. He comes and he says, Zu shelo ledatenu. He comes and he says, Zu shelo ledatenu. Right? Shelo, she'ilu asinu beratzon lifnei makom. If we did it willingly, that's not a mitzvah. So he says, and now it says, Ki tiksor, kavalo k'tuv beracha. You get a beracha. You know what that is? You get a beracha. And a lot of people, they don't even realize it. Do you know what once happened with Rav Natan Adler?
No, because
Rav Natan
people
Adler.
remember they go back to Kiri.
Exactly. That's when they didn't fulfill the mitzvah of Shicha. Right? Listen to the story with Rav Natan Adler. Rav Natan Adler was once with the Khatam Sofer. And what happened was,
if he goes back to get it, there is nothing anymore. Somebody took it already.
No, because he went back to get it.
He went to get it.
Right? Listen carefully. So he comes and he says this. So Rav Natan Adler, he was the rabbi, he was a Kohen, Rabbi Natan Adler. And he was the rabbi of the Khatam Sofer. I don't remember now where it's brought down, but I remember it was an incredible story that Rav Natan Adler was once going with the Khatam Sofer. And what happened is that they went and they had their horses, that they were traveling, it was snow, it broke down, they weren't able to continue. Finally, what happened is that they went into the town, and the Khatam Sofer comes back and he says, Rabbi, I didn't find, any horses, whatever it is. I'm going to come and I'm going to, put on the harness. And he starts putting on the harness, and all of a sudden, he sees that his Rabbi, is in the chariot. He jumps out and he starts dancing. And the Khatam Sofer is looking at him as if what's going on over here? Yeah, what's going on? What happened? You know what happened? Without realizing it, the Khatam Sofer didn't bring, they had, I think, oxen. I don't remember what it was. He didn't bring the same animal. He brought the donkey. And they were going to put them together. Oh. And that you have the Avera of the Kilayim. Right? So because of the Kilayim, the rabbi of the Khatam Sofer, he was up there. All of a sudden, he comes and he sees, we've got kilayim. So obviously, we can't use them. We can't come. So he went out and he started dancing. Why? He said, when was the last time you're going to have such a thing? Right? Imagine you put, the engine of a Tesla with the thing of a BMW. What are you going to do? A Rolls Royce. What are you going to do? I got excited of a Tesla. Yeah. So what happens? He comes and he says, that what happens? He said, what am I going to get such a, he was dancing. How much dancing? Here, the Tosefta says that the father came. No, he has to take one out. He can't use the other one. Right? He can't put them together. So he comes and he says, So he comes and he says, the Chassid was coming and he was dancing. Why? Because he realized this is a mitzvah. Go bring a par, bring animals, bring korbanot. Why? Look, I just did a mitzvah. So what happens, he says like this, Katzarta et hasadeh, v'samta betzad omer, right? Et ze ani avi lishti. He comes and he says, I'm going to give this to my wife. Right? He's not going to bring everything to the wife, right? He's going to bring something to his wife. Hemasta et kol atvu ala tractor, chazarta baita, halachta lishon, kamta baboker, you get up, and then what happened? Oy, shachachti tomer b'sadeh. Says the Torah, shachachta, al tachzor lekachat ota. Don't go back and take it. You forgot it. Leave it there. Yeah, says the Igra de Pirka. This is the Bnei Yissaschar. We have to understand why is it, that the Chassid came and he wanted to start bringing korbanot. A shlamim, I understand shlamim is not for an atonement. A shlamim is for, peace offering. Anolah, right? Okay. It's for the positive commandments. It's a nedava. Fine. But what happened? And then he comes and he says, Shalu asinu b'ratzon. If we would have done it b'ratzon lifnei makom, it wouldn't have been a mitzvah. What's the kavanah then? So he comes and he says like this. He says, in these two mitzvot, it says leman yivarechecha, whether it's by maaser rishon or maaser ani, it says leman yivarecha Hashem lokecha b'chol maaser yadecha asher ta'aseh. Are you listening? Leman yivarecha Hashem lokecha b'chol maaser yadecha. Kadosh Baruch Hu will give you a blessing in everything that you do. Asher ta'aseh, that you do. That is by what? Maaser rishon and maaser ani. By shikha, it just says b'chol maaser yadecha. It doesn't say Asher Taseh. Why doesn't it say Asher Taseh? Why doesn't it say Asher Taseh? The other ones, it does say Asher Taseh. Here it doesn't say Asher Taseh. Another question that he asks, he says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he wants that the Aniyim get the Omer. They come, they get everything, they put everything together. Why is it that the Torah, he comes and he says, why is it that the Torah is not commanding, right, al davar meod yafeh, which is, listen, you finished, right, come, throw it. Make a kilu you forgot. Why? Kilu you forgot, that's it. Why doesn't the Torah tell you that? Make a kilu you forgot. And if I do it, it's considered like tzedakah, right? So therefore, that's it. You know, kilu, you pretend that you have Alzheimer's. And then what happens? You forgot. Okay, and then what happened? Okay, you do mitzvah. Torah doesn't tell you that. Why not? So he says, mitzvot usually they need kavanah. So he comes and he says like this. We paskin the mitzvot, aseh doraita, they need kavanah. And without that, you're not going to be yitzeh chova. We're on the bottom of page 4. Page 4 lamata, on the tzad small. Igira de pirka, that's v'nei sascha. And he says, the mitzvah aseh de shicha, you cannot have kavanah. Because if you have kavanah, you're not yitzeh chova the mitzvah. Given the ikara mitzvah is davka shelo bechavanah. So he comes and he says, "Vine agam den tam la mitzvah borenu," right? Which means we don't understand all the mitzvot. At the end of the day, how do we understand this? Right? There's a chova mitzvah lenu to be ma'ayen tamei mitzvot to understand what's going on. Why? Think about it. Every single mitzvah, there's a reason for it. Why is it that this is the only mitzvah in the entire Torah that you're not supposed to have kavanah? Every mitzvah you have kavanot. Kavanah for this, kavanah for that, kavanah zechlim everything kavanot. This no kavanah. The exact opposite. You cannot have kavanah. So what's going on? So he says like this: V'nideh, dinei yadua. It's known. Listen to this yisod. Very important. Dechol ma she'adam oseh ba'olam hazeh. Anything that a person does in this world, and shum davar levatala. Nothing goes in vain. Nothing goes to waste. Fafilu machashava. Even a mindset. Shechashav lo titbatel will not become batel, as is brought down. Right? Morid v'sheol vayal. Shim lo asa adam teshuvah, rak chashav la'asot teshuvah. Even if you didn't do teshuvah, but you thought to do teshuvah, he says it's going to come up and it's going to do something, right? So he comes and he says, so now if you're going to tell me machshava is not batel, kol sheken dibur is not batel, and all the more so kol sheken maaseh is not going to be batel. So he comes and he says, what's the raya? You come and you tell a woman, arei mekudesh li amenat shani tzadik gamur. Imagine right, you come, you say, I'm going to get married to you on condition that I'm a tzadik gamur. And the guy's a rasha, mirusha. Married or not married?
Married, but no condition.
Married. Why is it married? Because
done right.
Maybe Bemet, he thought in his mind, and that turned him into a tzaddik. That turned him into tzaddik gamur. Says, look, we're not talking about an avrech kolel of chazonish, right? But rather somebody has a kuku. You know what a kuku is? He's got the
Ponytail.
The ponytail. Yeah? Until Achasani Kitsono. Until women have it. Achasani Kitsono. And 12 agilim. He's got 12 earrings. Right? But all of them on one ear. Yeah? Not only that, he's got the nose ring. Yeah? And then on the shoulders, he's got all the Mishnav Rabbi Yudam and Tema. He's got all the animals. He's got the leopard. He's got the panther, the eagle, the lion. He's got everything on his shoulders. Yeah, he's got it. It's like the Sefer Torah. You know the Mapa, the Sefer Torah. You got all the the lion. I know. He says it very, very nicely. Yeah. So he comes and he says, and not only that, he's just finishing eating a sandwich. This you have to tell me what this is. Of Mizra. What's that?
Chazir.
Okay. Al Chazir. Without Netilat Yadayim, without Birkat Hamazon. Bidiyuk in that moment, he comes and he sees a woman and he tells her, gamur. Yeah? He says, Gamur zevadai. For sure he's Gamur. The question is he a tzaddik? That's the question. Yeah? The problem is you can't translate this in English. It's very difficult. Right? All the jokes, you lose it in English. Fine. So he comes and he says, Omrim, what do Chazal say? He was married to Teshuvah. He thought of Teshuvah in his mind. Yeah? He comes and he says Zeigra de Pirka. Right? He comes and he actually says something like this. He comes and he says, what happens right now if a person comes and they pray? And Chas v'Shalom, they prayed and they had no kavanah. Yeah, they went up there, right? They come in the Beit Knesset, right? And all of a sudden they start. Yeah, and all of a sudden what happened? Mamash, they started in Miami. They thought they were in Surfside, right? They finished, they went to Honolulu, right? They went to the Bahamas, right? They went to New York. They went to Eretz Israel. They fixed the car. They changed the car. They bought a new house. They bought a boat. Everything. Yeah? everything. He comes and he says, he says, he says it happens to some people that they started Amidah and immediately all of a sudden they come and they find themselves by Shalom. Yeah? You've never had that? I laugh every single time, but I have to control myself. You're in the middle of Amidah. I laugh. I'm in the middle of Hashem Sefatai Tiftach. I'm in Hashem Sefatai Tiftach. You stop. You're supposed to say Hashem, right? No, you start Hashem. Remember, right? When you do Amidah, you take 3 steps back, right? What happens is by Tilot La'Elyon, you take 3 steps back. Afterwards, you come, you say Baruch Hashem Gal Yisrael. You take the 3 steps forward. You kiss your tefillin shalosh, and then you say Amonai. Pause. Pasek. Pay attention. Look in your siddur. There's a pasek. Amonai. Sefatai tiftach. You have to pause. After saying Amonai, you pause. Then you say Sefatai tiftach. Again, pause. Ufi agiti latecha. You don't have to sing it in order to say it with kavanah. I'm in the middle of those words. Hashem Sefatai tiftach. Right? Ufi agiti latecha. And what happens? Now over here at Tamarta.
Yeah, you're like, no, you're like
Tamarta. You just ate 3 berachot in 3 seconds. It took 3 seconds to come and say, how do you finish it? Yeah? So he comes and he says, how could it be? So he comes and he says, Aval super likro kama dvarim upitom he's עושה shalom. Right? It doesn't happen to everybody, but it does happen to some people. So he comes and he says now like this. So, where does that tefillah go? Where does the tefillah go? We're on the bottom of page 5 on the right. Omer. One second. Omer ha'ikra de pirka. Zohar HaKadosh. Otan otiyot. Netunim hema b'shimur. Tachat yad memune echad. Those letters that a person said when he was praying, they go up to Shamayim, and they're going to be held in the hand of somebody that's in charge of it. Ad bo zman asher yitpalel ha'adam tefillah kazot bechavana. Right? That means it comes out in standby. That's what he says.
This one is busy.
And then ya'aleh gam et tefillot hakadmot. He's going to bring up all the other tefillot. Exactly. Pirush hadavar. He comes and he says the explanation. Magia erev Rosh Hashanah. And the person comes and he finishes to pray Shachrit. He goes to Bet HaKvarot. He starts praying on Kivrei Tzadikim. Afterwards, he goes to the mikveh, mincha. He's broken and he's crying on every single word, right? And everything. And he's praying mamash b'chavana gdula. What happens in that moment? All of a sudden, says the Zohar HaKadosh, all the tefillot that a person had, they all connect and all of a sudden they go up. V'hakol oleh lemala. Everything goes up. B'rega echad. Right? And we're not going to think in 1 second. Even milah ktana, even one little one, it comes up and it goes up. Then everything. And that's to do with tefillah. Now the question is, what happens by a mitzvah? By a mitzvah. So yeshna mitzvot rabot that we come and we have to be mekayem otam and say that we don't even pay attention to them. For example, miyamot titen scharo. Right? What is miyamot titen scharo? You have to come and you have to actually pay the same day that your worker did something. He did a job, pay him. Yeah, he says a person goes to the taxi, right? Okay, he gets to the place, he takes out 50 shekels, he pays him. And that moment he has to say, I'm being mekayem a mitzvah doraita av biyomo titen secharo. Right? An installator come, right? Technician, whenever he comes, he asks you 250 shekels for something, here's dollars, yeah? For something that he does, before you pay. Biyomo titen secharo. It happened in Shabbat. You have to, you're doing lichot Shabbat, right? There's no electricity. Again, the same thing, right? All these things, you're coming, you're doing it. And that's why here he quotes the Ben Ishchai. I told you it was a Kav HaChaim. 1 minute. For sure. Aval, ma lasot. Yeah, he comes and he says, right? Yeah, he comes and he says, שהכוונה במצוות לא תמיד עולה. במחשבה הוא יוצא מהמונית. Right? בכוונה, he's coming out. He takes 50 shekel and he says, bring me a Kabbalah. Right? Lo yomo velo scharo. He doesn't. He's not thinking about it. Right? He comes and the guy asks him for 300 shekel. What does he think? איזה גנב. מה הוא עשה כבר? 5,000. מה הוא עשה כבר? ככה הם אומרים. Right? מה הוא כבר עשה בסך הכל? עברי בורג. זה מה שהוא עשה.
מה עשה לי? ניקה לי את השם.
בדיוק. What? He comes and he says the Igra de Pirka. He comes and he says, Mimela, Muvan Adavar. Now we understand. Gam b'mitzvot ma'asiyot. Im asa otan ha'adam lo chavana. If right now if a person did a mitzvah without any concentration, right? Chalila to say that it went levatala. How could it be? Rak bat et lechol zman ulchol chefetz tachat hashamayim. There's a time that's going to go up. So how's it going to happen? So he comes and he says, "Lazet tzivanu yibarach shemo mitzvah taseh shichat haomer." When a person has shichat haomer, which is a mitzvah without kavanah, what we're doing is it has a segula to bring up all the other mitzvot that you did without kavanah. Because that's the way to actually come and to fulfill it. So he comes and he says, that's why you're doing it. So therefore, that's why mitzvah tzedakah is called a mitzvah stam, Yerushalmi Midrashim, right? Just like, it's an avera stam, because it's done with everything, with the entire body. The other matanot aninim, it says, Asher ta'aseh, you have to actually do it. But here, it's the entire body. And that's what the Chassid comes and he says, he was so happy that he had the mitzvah of shicha. He was so happy, right? He was very, very happy. Okay, these are the words of the Igra de Pirka. So now we're going to come and we're going to say, okay, fine. This was a question. So the question that we ask is, what do we do nowadays in order to bring up the mitzvot? There's no mitzvot shelo b'chavana. There's no shicha. So if there's no shicha, then how do you bring up the mitzvot? In the olden days, you had the mitzvah of shicha. You forgot it. So now that mitzvah of shicha is going to bring up all the other mitzvot that you did it without kavanah. But now what do you do nowadays? So he comes and he says, Chashavti lomar. Right? B'mitzvat shicha, it says, Lo tashuv lekachto. Mikan amru, from here we say, that le'acharav is shicha. Lefanav eno shicha. She'eno beval tashuv. Leman yivarecha, that you should get a bracha. So he comes and he says like this, says Rashi in the name of the Sifri, let's say you lost 100 shekels, and an ani comes and he found it. You know what you were mekayem? You know what you were mekayem? You were mekayem the mitzvah of tzedakah of shikha. Why? Because you dropped $100, and an ani came and he picked up those $100. You were mekayem the mitzvah of shikha. And he comes and he says, that's why the Torah says, "Uvkutzrechem eketzir artechem lo techale peat sadecha be'evleke kitzirecha lo telaket." Why? Asa ben Moshe, I don't understand what's going on over here. Why is everything sadecha, kutzrecha, kitzirecha? Well, cha. Oh, cha. He comes and he says, you know why? He says when it says ki tirech hamor sonachar ovetz achadmo azov ta'azov imo, and then he says right lo telaket la'aniv lager ta'azov otam nishonechem. Says ta'azov, anach lifnehem, and they have to do it. En lecha lesaya, you don't have to help them. What does that mean? When you have the mitzvah in the field, and the ani comes and he says, Slicha adoni, kashe li litkofef, I can't bend down. Maybe you could help me. What do you say? You don't do it. You have to tell him to do it himself. Yeah? Call Ezer Mitzion, call Hatzala, they should come and they should help you. Al ta'azor lo. Why? Why? He says, why? It doesn't make sense. Why all of a sudden you're going to come, a Jew is asking you for help. You're going to say, no? What's going on? The answer is, and that's what he comes and he says, Hashem doesn't let me. Ad kedei kach that the Gemara Masechet Shabbat says, is there a musag of chshad by adlakat nerot? You know that if you have two different entrances, you have to put the Chanukiah in both entrances to make sure that there's not going to be a problem of, right, that it looks like, maybe you didn't light it or whatever it is. So he comes and he says, from this, says the Gemara Masechet Shabbat, Amar Bishimon, for 4 different things, the Torah says, Laniach pe'ah besof sadeu. Right, why is the pe'ah has to be at the end of the field? Why can't you leave the pe'ah in the middle? Or right close to your house? It always has to be at the end. Meaning, where do you leave the corner? Exactly. So but why does that have to be the corner all the way in the end? It could be the corner right beside my house. So he comes and he says, number 1, gezelanim, bitulanim, chashad, and bal techaleh. Gezelanim, shelo yireh balabayit, sha'a pnuya, and then what does he do? V'yomar lo krovo ani, arezu pe'ah. Meaning he comes, looks around, there's no other guys. He calls his family member that he's poor, and he tells him, pe'ah. The family member comes and he takes everything. So what is that called? That's called gezel anim. He's stealing from the ani because he's giving to his family member instead of giving to all the anim. So because of that, it can't be right beside his house. It has to be towards the entrance of the house, right? Towards the entrance of the field. Next, he comes and he says, right? Why bitul aniyim shelo yu aniyim yoshvin umeshamrim, that nobody's going to watch over for each other, right? Because they don't know when he's going to do it, so they have to be there. He's going to do it. Chashad. What is chashad? He comes and he says, "Shalu yovrim v'shavin omnim tavo me'era lada." They're going to come. They're going to curse him. He's not leaving peah. Right? What's the last one? Bal techaleh. He says, what? The other ones don't have bal techaleh. He says, because of the Ramaim, because of the cheaters. So the Rambam says, all matanot aniyim, right? Em ba'em tovat haniyah leba'alim. They have no tovat hanah. Right? But rather the aniyim come and they take it against their will. What does that mean? Meaning this is going to be completely different, right, than other things. Meaning like this. Usually, for example, ma'aser ani. Ma'aser sheni yud kippur. But let's say ma'aser dishon. Truma. You decide. You decide which Kohen to give it to. You decide which Levite to give it to. You decide which Ani to give it to. Leket shichal peah, you don't decide. It's given against your will. They come and they take it. There's no deciding. You can't decide. It's not like I could decide, you know what, I want to give it to this charity. Or I want to give it to this place or to the other place. No, it doesn't work. So he comes and he says, right, when a person wants to come and they want to convert, you know what they teach them? You teach them about avon leket shichal peah. They tell them, listen, there's a mitzvah of leket shichal peah, right? Which, think about it very, very well. You want to be mitgayed? Why? He says, you can't eat chazir, you can't eat cottage cheese with meat, right? You're not allowed to have, whether it's going to be meat by itself, the milk by itself. And not only that, he comes and he says, right? He comes and he says, Tishma, an etrog costs you $200. Tefillin costs you $1,500, right? To become a Jew is expensive. It's not cheap. So he says, no problem. But he comes and he says, you know what, there's a mitzvah. You know what it is? Leket shichal peah. So he says, no, what's the big deal? Right? Let's say, or even if you're going to say one dunam, $1,000, but tefillin is more expensive. Says Rashi, why are you teaching the ger leket shichal peah? Shelo yomru aniyim alalu aloktin peat sadeh gazdanim hem ve'omed alehem ve'orgam bedinehem shebnei Noach uzaru ala gezel. Right? He comes and he says, you know why? It's very difficult for them to come and say, I don't understand. I have a field, and you're coming into my field that I just reaped, and I worked, and I did everything, and you're just going to take whatever you want? What's going on here? That's difficult for the goy to understand. The $1,500 for tefillin is not that. Leket shichal peah. Think about it. I just worked for it, and I come and I take it. Where are you coming from? That's what he says. He says because of that, that's why he says that there's such a concept that you're not going to be mekayim the mitzvah peah, which the onesh, right, is complete destruction. Okay? So now he comes and he says, nowadays, right, we are in a generation that there's everything. Yesh mifalim, you've got factories, stores, high tech. The majority of people, they were working in the fields. So then it makes sense. Comes a Meshech Chochmah and he says, Rosh Hashanah should have been in Nisan. Rosh Hashanah should have been in Nisan. He says, why? It says, B'chodesh HaShavi, Pirush, V'hu yishvot teveh b'tzedek adin le'umim b'sharim. So it says Yerushalmi in the first perek of Rosh Hashanah, En HaKadosh Baruch Hu dan et ha'adam ela ba'asher hu sham. When does HaKadosh Baruch Hu judge us? According to the way that we are. Ba'asher hu sham. He says, B'imot HaGeshamim, during the winter time, the Jew is sitting, learning Torah, he's doing mitzvot, he's, right? And the goy is enjoying himself. He says, during the summertime, Yetzeh Adam le'fa'olo. Everybody's working. We have to go to the fields, we have to work. So he comes in, he says, 1 second, you should have done Rosh Hashanah in Pesach, so that way we're actually learning Torah, and therefore what happens is we have mitzvot without averot. That's what we should have done in Pesach time. So he comes and he says, that's why we find by Binyamin HaTzadik, that they went and they wanted to measure his zechuyot. Binyamin HaTzadik, he came, and they found that she gave to live a woman and her 7 children. So he comes and he says, what does that mean? They're full of mitzvot ma'asim tovim. That's why he was called Binyamin HaTzadik. But, right, lichyot mashenu magia lo losif yamav, you need midah keneged midah. The fact that he gave a woman and her 7 children to eat, they added him on life. In 3 times, we're going to be judged. And that's the parnasah of a person. He says, omnam al chayav, it's on Rosh Hashanah. So we have to know what's a midah keneged midah. And therefore he comes and he says like this. The Jew comes, he starts plowing, planting, right, reaping. He does everything. He can't, look, no, you can't take off peah. Right, you forgot. Don't take it. You drop something. Lo telaket, leket shichal peah. He says, this is not like a regular matana that you enjoy. It's mamash, you have to abandon it there. You have to leave it there. So he comes and he says, so this is not midah. So what's the midah keneged midah? He says, Yosifu lo chaim. They're going to come, they're going to add him. Why? He comes and he says, not like the goy. He says, if an ani will come and ask him, he says, 1 second, they're going to start embarrassing him. What are you talking about? Right? He comes and says, no, you understand that it's not really yours. So that's why the Ben Moshe comes and he says, that's what it says in Rosh Hashanah. We have to say malchuyot Ani Hashem Elokechem. B'chodesh Hashavi is malchut. Why? Le'ani v'lager ta'azov otam. Let's come back. Right, we're going to come back just to understand. One more time. We started off the shiur tonight by coming and asking a very simple question. Yeah, at the beginning we mentioned how that all the parashiot are always connected to the Yamin Nunaim. We brought down their 74 mitzvot, right? 24, right? And the what's it called? 24 mitzvot, the positive commandments, right? And so we got 74 mitzvot. What is 74? Ed. So we said, what is Ed? Shema Yisrael Shalom Echad. Ayin Daled. Ed. Alelu Shabeach. Ayin Daled. Alelu Shabeach. And Od. Al Kene Kavelach. Hashem Shmo Echad. Daled. Ayin Daled. Ayin Daled. Edim. Two Edim that you want, and that you came and you pray. And that's why we say Alelu Shabeach at the end of every single tefillah. Shachrit Mincha and Arvit. Okay. Yafeh meod. We come and we say like this. When we're talking about the entire concept of the Muadim, in Parashat Emor, how do we start? Shabbat, right? Pesach, Shavuot, Leket and Peah. All of a sudden, Rosh Hashanah, Kippur, Sukkot, Shmini Atzeret. Ma kesher. What does the connection between Leket and Shikha have to do with in the middle of the Muadim? Connected to Rosh Hashanah. And he says, because Ani Hashem Lokechem, that's what you have to, what's going on? So we brought a pasuk. He said, Yom Simchatchem Moadechem Roshei Chodshechem Utkatem HaChatzotzerot. Chatzotzerot, זה שופרות. היו לכם לזיכרון. זיכרון, זיכרונות. אני השם אלוקיכם, מלכויות. And then we brought down this pasuk. What does that mean exactly? The malchuyot is we realize Hashem is the king. To make Hashem a king means I came and I worked on this field. I killed myself for this field. I reaped, I planted, I plowed, I did this, I did that, I did everything. And then what happens? Hashem says, the ani comes in and I don't even have the choice. It could be an ani that I hate him. I don't like him. Doesn't matter. I come inside and what happens? Right? All of a sudden I come inside, take whatever you want. Right? And when he's going to take whatever he wants, no problem. He takes whatever he wants. So what is the Torah actually coming and teaching us? Ani Hashem, that is Malchuyot. That's where you learn that you have to do Malchuyot. Right? From that place. Why? Because it teaches HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Melech. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the Melech. There's nothing else what to talk about. Right? So now, in between though, we came and we brought down the entire Yesod, right, of the Bnei Yisachar. Bnei Yisachar came and he asked, what do we do with tefillot, right, that a person came and they prayed and didn't have kavanah? So he answered that they go on standby. Zohar HaKadosh. They go on standby. Right? They come, the guy started, he didn't pay attention. Huh? Bnei Yisachar, he's one of the Gdolei of the how do you call this? That's why the Zohar HaKadosh comes and it says, right, that since the Zohar says that it goes on standby, and then what happens is that when a person comes, they pray one tefillah, bechavana, it brings up all the rest of the tefillot. So one thing, so I went and I said, right, I forgot to mention it, that in one of these sefarim they bring down, that's a pshat, when we say Shema Kolenu. It doesn't say Shema Bakashaten. Shema Kolenu. Why Kolenu? Because sometimes a person could come and they say Shema Kolenu, even Kol, without Shum Kavanot. So they said Kol. And still we tell HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shema Kolenu Hashem Elokeinu. Why? Because even the Dvarim Shabli HaKavanot, they will actually come up towards HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So what happens? The Sasra comes and he says, what do you do with mitzvot that are done without kavanah? We know that everything in this world, there's a kavanah for it. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, everything, every type of mitzvah, nothing goes in vain. There's not even a thought that goes in vain. That was from the proof of the Gemara to do with the tzaddik gamur. The guy comes, he's a rasha, and he comes and he tells a woman, I'm a tzaddik gamur. Yeah, he's a tzaddik gamur, I'm conditioned. Right? So therefore, nothing goes in vain. So if machshava doesn't go in vain, kol sheken dibur, the kol sheken even more maaseh doesn't go in vain. What do you do with the mitzvah? You came, you did a mitzvah, there was no kavanah. How many times? You do mitzvot, you don't have kavanah. So what happens? So he comes and he says, you know what happens? He comes and he says, what happens is that when a person comes and he does a mitzvah without the kavanah, he says it's going to come up. How does it come up? He says it comes up with the mitzvah of shikha. Why shikha? That is the only mitzvah in the entire Torah that is done without kavanah. Why did Hashem make such a mitzvah? It doesn't make sense. If all the mitzvot are supposed to connect with Hashem, to become closer to Hashem, why in the world then we have a mitzvah that you forget? And that's the purpose of the mitzvah. He says, no. Because when we forget, and that's how we're making the mitzvah, that's going to bring up all the other mitzvot that we also forgot. Meaning we didn't have kavanah. So the mitzvah of shikha, which is done beli kavanah, and that's the only way to be mekayem the mitzvah, by doing that mitzvah bechavana, which means shelo bechavana, it brings up all the other mitzvot shelo bechavana. That's what the Ben Yisrael says. So we asked, so how do you do it nowadays? So we answered, nowadays it happens that, for example, somebody lost money, and all of a sudden he comes and he says, I'm not going to go back and take back. I wanted the ani should get it. And he's watching, and the ani comes and he takes it. He was mekayem a mitzvah of shikha. Why is he mekayem the mitzvah of shikha? Because he forgot the money there. He purposely didn't want to take it, and he wanted that the ani should take it. Fine. Hashem yazmin oto. Hashem yazmin lo.
Oh, okay. Let's say he say, I forget over there. Now I'm not gonna bet.
Yeah.
But what is the